Welcome to Grab Lies, everybody. I'm your host, John Vargas. Just to start off with our disclaimer, everything we say and do on this podcast platform has nothing to do with the views or the opinions of the City of Los Angeles Fire Department. And I don't know. This is a new episode. Our guest is Matty Fiorenza. He's a retired Anaheim Fire Department firefighter paramedic, and he's been on the podcast before. Had a really great episode with him, and that was last year, I believe. The episode was called The Art of Vulnerability. If you want to hear Matty's story, he talks a lot about how he came across this issue with behavioral health through his own trauma, his own hurdles he's had to get through. So he's been on the documentary, I believe it's called 911 PTSD. I will put it in the notes exactly what it was, but he's got an amazing story, an amazing message, and just speaks from the heart, man. This guy is probably 6'4", big dude. He's got such a big heart and is super connected. And we always have these great conversations off the record. And I just really wanted to continue to have Matty on to have more of these conversations and to talk about what really works for healing. And I think he's got a nonprofit that he's starting of things that actually work to help people who are really in need of connection and healing and the transformation. So I enjoy this episode. It's really nonchalant and just a conversation about ourselves, each other, and what works, what doesn't work, and so on and so forth. So I'm positive that you'll enjoy this episode. He talks a lot about his peer support during the Palisades and the Eaton fire. So please enjoy this episode. Please support us. Please share this with someone who needs to hear it. And keep this movement going. I love you guys and take care.
It's time for Grab Lies.
Have you heard the intro to the Grab Lives thing?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Pretty interesting, man.
Yeah.
So I think I was telling you about I'm doing my paramedic recertification stuff. And I'm actually going to hit my 10 years in March.
As a medic?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm now 10 years medic, and man, it's been a long time, dude, since I took that class, and I just remember how stressed out I was when I took it.
I was some of the worst. Some of the worst times of my life, bro.
Yeah. Same.
In medic school.
Yeah. So man, when I was I went to paramedic school as a private student.
Okay.
And so I prior to that, I worked for the Forest Service. Mm-hmm. And so all the money I made in the Forest Service, I saved up to do paramedic school. Mm-hmm. And so I was ready to go to paramedic school after my last fire season. And I was like, dude, I'm doing it. I forget. I think it was like 15 to 20 grand. Mm-hmm. I had to fork out, you know what I mean? So I didn't have any money. That's why I worked for the Forest Service, to make some cash. And then I went to Riverside and went to school over there, and I worked part-time. Actually, no, I worked full-time while going to part-time paramedic school. And I drove from the South Bay, and I was living in my grandma's house on the floor, and I would drive all the way to Riverside, back and forth, working 24-hour shifts. Man, that was...
Dude. Wow, the commitment and the drive it took for us to go after these jobs, bro.
I know.
I don't know if I could do that again, dude. I definitely could, because same type of story, I mean, although paramedic school for me, I got sent by the department, which was great because I was still collecting a paycheck. But the pressure, you don't want to be the guy that fails out and has to come back to work without a medic license.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I mean?
I felt so much pressure I put on myself
Sure.
And I remember our didactic final exam, it was 4 hours long, and if you didn't pass with an 80%, you were out 15 grand.
Right.
So I remember when we finished the exam, and guys had failed, dude. There were guys crying in the parking lot because they were out 15 grand and they had to redo the whole thing over again if they wanted to do it.
Yeah. The school I went to during didactic, there was a test every Friday. Every Friday, you had to take a test if you didn't get 80 or above. And the teacher he was awesome, actually. Like, looking back, he was a little nurse that had polio.
Interesting.
His name was Howard, and he was on the feminine side, you know. So but he would take these type A, like, first responders, and he would just make them his bitch. It was awesome. But there was a method to his madness. Like, he wanted to see how you were going to treat people. Like, he could tell. Like, you could teach anybody, right, to do this stuff, really, for the most part. Like, just take some studying and stuff like that. But he through his, you know, through the class, would get to know people. And if you were a type A, and if he thought in any way you were not going to treat people well out in the field, he'd crush you, bro. You'd fail.
I like that.
Yeah, he was a good guy. He passed, but taught a lot of medics in Orange County, but it was Saddleback.
Okay.
Yeah, so he would just come in.
I heard about him.
Yeah,
I heard of the story.
He's a legend, bro.
Heard of the stories about that guy.
But you take the test and then you go to lunch. So at lunch you're just like trying to choke down like Chipotle, dude. And everyone's worried, and we're all talking, you know. And then we'd be sitting in the class, and then he'd purposely make us wait like 10 minutes. And he'd shuffle in, and then he'd write 100% and then put tick marks. And you're just and then you hope that he didn't write like, you know, 79%. And sometimes he'd write it and then turn around. He's like, I'm going to bring the monitors in here.
Man, yeah, paramedic school is weird, man. But you know what's funny is, like, our personalities going into this type of work, I just noticed the natural reaction is to be like forceful and like push your way with like brute strength through a lot of stuff, right? And the last couple of years I've taken a different approach with that. It doesn't really work.
No.
You know, using that method.
It doesn't.
You know what I mean? As far as like being this, you know, gorilla breaking shit and like, you know, spraying, you know, fire with a hose.
Right.
That's okay, but most of this job takes a lot of finesse,
right,
and patience, and like the right times to act,
right.
And I noticed like the way I approach things like in that manner, it flows easier. Totally. You know what I mean? Especially and as a medic, you like sit back, be really patient with a call, and you notice it just kind of works itself out without you being like forceful, like, hey, you got to do this, and you're not going to the hospital.
Right. No, totally. You
know what I mean?
Absolutely, dude. I would say that's 99.9% of being a medic. Like, you know what's in the box, you know, kind of when to use it. It's just about going in there and just being another human being and meeting their, you know, being somewhat compassionate, right?
Yeah.
And then kind of just your intuition comes up. I mean, how many calls have you been on, right? Where you're just like, nothing's jumping out at me, but something here is wrong.
Yeah.
And then you end up going, okay, we're just going to go plug a line in them, and you get to the hospital, and then later you go back and like, they had a bleed or something, you know, or they were having an MI, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just knew it. You know, that's the human connection, bro.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. Like I definitely, over the years, you just get better at it. Yeah. And it just becomes like a second nature thing to you. Your intuition steps in, your experience steps in. But you can tell, man, like visual vitals on someone. You're like, this guy's sick, dude. I can just tell.
Right.
Like, even some firemen, I'm like, dude, this guy's sick.
Totally. Yeah, you know, going back to what you said too about the finesse, like, I remember one of the older guys, I can't remember his name. He was an engineer, and we got it was like my first TC cutter, you know, legit, like person trapped. And I remember him just being like, okay, take a deep breath, you know, because I showed up with all the stuff and hooking everything up, and you know, I run over there with the tool going, and he's, you know, it was the old like Hearst tool too with the and he goes, okay, take a deep breath. All right, okay, now we're gonna cut here, and then we're gonna cut here. You know,
you bring your mic closer to you. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, you're good.
That's better.
How's that?
Yeah, perfect.
Bro, I was in the.
Sorry,
I was in the ethos.
Continue your story.
But anyways, it just, when I look back, you know, some of the people, some of the guys, not everybody was a hard charger. You know, some of the older guys did have some like, slow down, like take a breath. Because that's not the mentality. You're right. You're not taught that. I don't remember being taught that in the academy. It's about hurry up, let's go, make it happen, do it perfect now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then, you know, unfortunately, a lot of us choose that career because of what we carry into it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think I was so aggressive. Like, I'm a skateboarder, punk rock kid, you know, I just would like hard charge everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I used that. And when I hit a wall with myself, I had injuries and I started circling the drain with chronic pain. That's when I was like, hold on, I'm doing everything wrong. I need to readjust my position and how I can approach just my body in general, you know? So I think like being softer on my joints these days is like my biggest thing,
Right.
You know, with lifting weights, not too much weight, just enough to stress the body to gain strength, you know, and like making sure I'm listening to my body was huge, dude. Like I was telling you earlier, like it took me a long time to actually come into my body. And it was like this one experience where I felt like this like thunderclap, like just out of nowhere. And I felt I came into my body. Like I finally felt like embodied.
Right.
And it was just recently when I had experienced that, because I had to get rid of all my filth and my emotional baggage I was carrying, all this pressure I put on myself and all these things that I just needed to not sweep it under the rug, but witness it within myself,
Right.
honor it, and finally let it go. You know, and I think sometimes, you know, like when we're holding on to like a rope that is harming us because it's causing resistance, but we need to let go finger by finger.
Right.
And with each finger comes like an understanding of why we're holding on still. And I think I really needed that understanding in order to just be like, okay, I'm ready for it to just release.
Right.
You know, and that goes with like these different positions on many parts of my life, you know, and I think my career has shown me like, the more I resist things, more stress I cause, you know, but there's a different dynamic with this fire department, dude. It's like unreal, the things we do, you know, and just seeing like how I respond internally with it.
Right.
I've just noticed like this great work, what we call like introspection and brutal self honesty. It becomes more difficult at times.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
For sure. Especially when you're in that paradigm, you know, it's like, I don't know. There was a part of me that was so driven to just go back to that population and teach them what I had learned, you know, which is a very difficult thing to do.
Oh yeah, dude. It really is.
You know, but you know, over time, they might not have listened to me at first, but it seemed like then we kind of started speaking that wellness language a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it kind of took off. But yeah, it's a very difficult population of people to go in and, you know, to change the old thinking and the old false beliefs and the system of false beliefs and the fixed way of being and all that stuff. They're just, yeah, a lot of them. And it's, you know, it's passed down generationally in the culture, especially for the, you know, the organization that you work for.
Oh yeah.
Some of the, you know, I've been working with first responders from all over the country, and still one of the toughest group of guys to, I don't know if they don't trust people from the outside, or, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just a tough group of people to infiltrate.
Oh yeah.
In this space.
For
You know
sure.
what I mean?
No, there's this famous saying, there's the right way, there's the wrong way, and there's the way of the LAFD. No, but I'm serious,
Yeah,
dude.
totally.
Like,
I
that
get it.
culture that's what it's been doing for a long time. And I think the system possibly may not continue the way with that behavior. So there's a lot of fight and struggle, and there's a lot of administrative betrayal. There's all this kind of like, we've been at war since like the vaccination deal.
Right.
Because not only are we at war with each other in a way sometimes, but with the city council, it's a mess, dude. There's so much, I guess, resistance to all of that. And I think people are going to have enough. I think we've had this is our second strike with this Palisades deal.
Right.
I think we have one more strike, and I think the people, the members are really going to get an uproar because of just how we feel.
Yeah.
You know, we feel unheard.
Sure.
And I'm speaking to the masses because I've just talked to so many members and being involved with the union, and just everyone's very upset.
Right.
And at what point do we become a whipping boy, you know,
Right.
or a beat down dog till
Right.
they start biting back, you know?
Right.
So I'm just kind of waiting and supporting every person to see, you know, how they respond to all this stuff. You know, it's really bizarre, man. You know,
Yeah.
and I had front row seats to the Palisades. You know what I mean?
Dude. Yeah, that's pretty sad. You know, I went just as, you know, a volunteer the first day just to gather a bunch of stuff.
Oh, so you were there at the Palisades?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
afterwards. Just
Okay, cool.
just for a day. Because I had a buddy, I don't know, Jonathan Chia, the Reality Center. I got to connect you if you haven't yet,
I
but
haven't.
he's a combat veteran. He created a psychedelic experience without the psychedelics.
Oh, you told me about that.
Yeah. And he turned the Reality Center into a collection spot for donations and things. So they had tons and tons of stuff and couldn't access, you know, they couldn't make access into it. So me and my buddy Gabe have credentials. So we just loaded my Tahoe up with stuff and went out and like try to find guys that were out there. You know, you remember, you know, being out there and you're just like, you have the brown bag lunch and you're just, and someone rolls up with like pizza. You're like, thank you. So just warm food and just whatever, you know what I mean? And just a chit chat. So we did that the first day and then, but it was really sad to drive out there. And,
Oh, it's crazy.
yeah. And to hear all the stories and, you know, and to see so many fire experts on the internet.
So lame, dude.
Oh my God. I just laugh,
Yeah.
you know, when they're like, oh, they're stopping rigs to check their emissions. I'm like,
Dude, people are crazy on the
I
internet.
know,
man.
dude, that like how that got traction is just me. God bless the internet. I really do. I love it more than I hate it, really, because I feel like there's a lot of, you know, everybody has a voice, whether it's wrong or not, or your opinions, whatever. It's there and you can get into it. I try to laugh at it more than get upset.
Oh, for sure.
But to see, I don't know. And I don't know how you feel about, or how the guys feel about your fire chief, but God, I've just felt so much compassion for her. I don't know. I was doing my prayer and meditation one morning and it just like, I just felt like all this like compassion for her as a firefighter, you know, and all the heat she's taken. You know, I was just like, I wonder if if she has somebody to talk to through all this. Like, I just felt overwhelming compassion. And there were some chaplains from, because I went back out to the Eaton Fire. I was out there for 6 days, and there was 2 chaplains from LA City. I just went up to them and I said, "Is anybody?" This is on my heart to ask if anybody is making sure that she's taking care of the human part of her.
Yeah,
that's, you know, I'm like, and I told him, I go, look, like most first responders have high ACEs scores, abandoned, abused, neglected, and betrayed. And she's all of those right now.
Yeah.
So it's got to be bringing something up for her. Like I said, all the politics and all the job stuff aside, that's a human being who's getting just pummeled. And I don't know, I just had all this compassion for her for a second. And I hope someone's, you know, she's off-gassing this stuff, and I hope she's being taken care of.
Yeah, just think about all of the energy and the eyes. I mean, worldwide.
Totally.
On her and people's opinions,
right,
and their judgment onto one person through the internet. That's still placing, you know, just a thought by seeing someone's face on a screen. You're receiving that into your awareness at some point, at a subconscious level.
Right.
And so that must be a heavy burden to carry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it's like when you're in a room, right? And you're being tested with all of your colleagues watching you, you can feel people watching you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the same thing through the internet. Why is that any different?
Yeah.
Right. And I just remember being a rookie and feeling that pressure from my colleagues and just feeling like that, just heaviness, right? And that pressure. And I remember it would be overwhelming for me as a rookie. Be like, dude, I can feel like, and I would not perform very well with that pressure.
Right.
You know, so I could imagine what she's experiencing at a subconscious level with that. Who knows, man? You know, and who knows? And if you ask that chaplain, he will probably say, "Oh yeah, she's being taken care of." Really? Are you just lying to me? Man?
And that's what,
I don't believe it.
That was the answer that I got, and
I knew it. Yeah,
you know what I mean. I almost wanted to tell him, "Hey, look, I'm not, you know, I'm really nobody, but if you could put me in contact with her to have an honest conversation with her about how she's doing, like I have resources, and I can at least bring to her awareness how those wounds come up when you're being publicly shamed."
Yeah.
Because shame's what's killing us.
Yeah.
That's what kills first responders. Shame. And we get caught in a loop. And empathy, man. Just douse that shame with empathy. That's the antidote. And I don't know, it was just on my heart. So I don't know, maybe someday we can have a conversation and really ask her, like, how are you? You know?
Yeah, dude, I was looking at, someone had put together certain emotions and the root of what it's two emotions together that equals the outcome of something. So what shame showed up as, the way this woman put it together, was fear plus disgust equals shame. And it really stuck with me, man. When I heard the word disgust, it just like was an arrow straight to my heart. And I was like, dude, I really do feel that because I felt that in my life before.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what that feels like, that disgust for yourself. And I had to work with that when it hit me for maybe a couple weeks, man. Cause you know, there was the truth when it really cut to like memories and just thoughts that I've discovered, like that I really, really felt in the past with, you know, just that disgust. When that word showed up, I was like, man, that is a heavy word to feel for yourself. You know what I mean? And I think we place it upon ourselves. We have to only blame ourselves in the end.
Sure.
Right. For having that experience.
Yeah.
And our part in it too, with, if there's another person involved with that, whether it's like a colleague, a family member, or whatever it is. Right. But man, it is disgust.
Yeah. That's I
heavy.
love that. Yeah. Yeah. It's disgust. It's, you know, hate for yourself, you know, and once you're kind of shown a different way and you have different experiences, it's like, you can't hate something that's love, whole, perfect, and connected to the universe.
Yeah. That's very true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just it's a disgusting human thing. Right. It's just, some of it's passed down generational. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was taught that anger is fear and sadness. The only way through sadness is tears. And underneath that fear is shame. The fear of being disconnected. And then we get caught in a loop of shame, denial, and dissociation. I got this. Yep. But we just empathy, community, and daily practice.
There's this really famous quote. It's healing is dealing, dealing is feeling, and feeling is healing.
I like that. That's good, bro.
Yeah, I know. That came from a book that I had read. It's called The Path of Empowerment. And that book really showed up in my life when I needed just like a little extra. It wasn't like a self-help book. It was a guidance to that. I mean, the title of the book, exactly, The Path to Empowerment. It's about taking control of the ownership you have failed to show up for in your life. And I just noticed, man, and that's the number one thing. The two things you need to this path of empowerment is the courage, number one. Right. And then number two is ownership. To start owning up to yourself, owning up to who you are. Right. And as soon as you start that, it really leads you to the things you've been hiding and avoiding to
Right.
face, you know, and that's the hardest part is just,
For sure.
you know, the things that hurt, right?
It's an inventory.
Inventory for
It's
sure.
inventory. It's you know, it's self-reflection. It's something that, you know, most people aren't taught, you know, the right way, I don't think. Right. And I mean, if we're talking about it like in our culture, it's definitely guys don't look at, it's very often, you know, they might look at something they did wrong on the fire ground or something, but do they look at something they did wrong when they came into the station and how they interacted with other people? No, I come in and I act a certain way, like a dick or whatever, you know, and there's no, like, I don't care how I make people feel or, you know what I mean? So doing being introspective is such a new concept for people. Like I tell people, you know, that I work with, like, they're like, how do I help my son or how do I help my wife? You know how you help them? You start with yourself.
Yeah.
You heal the people around you by healing yourself. What does that mean? It means you got to look at your own shit, man. And isn't it funny? Like when you said that, how everything comes back, everything comes full circle, right? A lot of this stuff, it comes right back. Oh, there it is. Yeah, the hero's journey, buddy. It's a big circle.
Yeah, it's the hero's path, right? But it's interesting how most of our storytelling is hero based. You know, right? You have an antagonist and a protagonist. But when you look at other cultures, a lot of times they don't have that same story dynamic. They have other players in the game that start to interfere and throw wrenches within the theory of antagonist, protagonist.
Right.
And I look at a lot of storytelling through like Japanese culture and like Chinese culture. That's my last couple years I've been pushed into those cultures recently. I mean, I just got back from Japan.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know, and just having this affiliation with their philosophy on life, you know, and they don't use the hero and the villain type thing. You know, it's about the journey in itself, and your role in someone else's story is essential to everyone's circle of life.
Sure.
You know, the totality of it all is what really makes sense, not like this just icon and the people who are keeping that person from reaching the top, right?
Right.
It's really interesting.
I love that
way of thinking about life.
Yeah, it's like all the archetypes.
Yeah,
we can all be all that stuff.
And like their warrior, right? But their warrior, a true warrior, actually will use some type of art or feminine trait to balance out that warrior. And so, and for us in American culture, we see like a feminine trait for a warrior to hold as like an incipient fear for homosexuality.
Right.
When that's actually not the truth. It's just you're balancing some things out within yourself to calm your nervous system, to keep things on an even keel. Because if you're going to burn yourself out just by being the warrior all the time.
Right.
You know, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's good. Yeah. I'm so busy these days, bro.
Same.
I need to, my therapist hates, or my spiritual advisor hates when I say I need to. Yeah, it's like there's only so much time in the day. And I think we were talking about before how, you know, I'm working, I'm retired now, as you know, and my retirement is not enough to live on in Southern California. As a matter of fact, half of it goes right to my medical insurance, which is crazy. And then, so I'm trying to like recreate some kind of steady work, but at the same time, I have this purpose that won't let me, you know, it just won't let go of me. And so I'm having to learn new skills, right? Like how to run a nonprofit. And I'm really doing my best to really lean into like not knowing what I'm doing. And because I know what I'm doing, I know what I want to do, right? But the whole business space and the whole nonprofit space is all new. So I got a mentor and and I got a little money to work with from some friends anonymously that were like, look, we really can get behind what you're doing. But the day to day in, like just business stuff, like computers and email, it's really hard, man. It's like, there's some days where I open the computer, like I'm in the car and I'm like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to send that. I got to do that. And I get at home and I open up the computer and nothing, bro. I'm like, what? I knew I have a bunch of stuff to do. And there's just a block there, dude. I just hate it. I just don't, but I have to do it. Like I have to do it because it's building a foundation. And so I've been doing a lot of work, and there's always like unconscious, subconscious things that come up. Like, what is that? So I'll call Brenda, who's my spiritual advisor, and say, what is it? Like, well, Matty, what's, what are you afraid of? Well, that I'm going to mess it up. Okay. You might. So what else? I want it to be perfect. Well, where does that come from? No one's perfect. It's not going to be perfect. You might mess up. And it just comes right back to what we were talking about, right? Shame, So I'm using this whole, I don't like sitting in front of a computer or trying to learn new things as an opportunity for growth. And it's baby steps. Like someday I'm just like, okay, like, let's go. I do my daily practice in the morning, and I get home and I'm like, okay, I make a list and, knock all this stuff out. And I'm usually on the phone a bunch, taking calls from guys that need help or resources. And I don't know, I'm learning a lot about myself starting this nonprofit, and it's been quite the journey for sure. I think, I don't know. I'm also letting God direct me in what it even is going to end up being, and donors want to know, like, what's your plan and what's the ultimate goal and what's this and that. And sometimes it's just like, I know what these guys need when they come to me. I can, with the help of therapists and whatnot, like how to like get them to the right resources and the right modalities and the things that insurance won't pay for that work.
Yeah.
And, but I don't know exactly what that looks like right now. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of letting, and there's some freedom in that for me.
I like that.
You know what I mean? I'm letting it all unfold. Like, it doesn't have to be so black and white and systematic, but I don't know, man. That's where I have to be okay with it just being able to sit in front of somebody that is looking to donate to help first responders and say, okay, Matty, like, I trust you, and the only way I can do that is by doing my own work,
For sure. Yeah. So everyone who's listening, I know we're like 30 minutes in, but if you haven't heard of Matty Fiorenza, he's a retired Anaheim firefighter. And we did the last episode and Matty told his story and all that stuff, but I think we're past that where we want to talk about, as people who have suffered being in this career, how we show up for others who are suffering, right? Because that's ultimately the way the torch gets passed down, right? We've been through it. We know what it feels like. We know the job. We have this cultural competency. So Matty has a nonprofit he's working to build on helping guys and women, men and women who are just been through it, and they don't know where to go. They're going through these dead ends through their insurance, through these therapists that are just like chipping away at a boulder with a toothpick and are not getting anywhere. And so that's where we're at. We're kind of just talking. But I think ultimately, man, I feel you on that. I've talked to so many different, treatment centers and therapy places. And they have these like ideas and none of them are getting anywhere.
No,
it's the same thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then they'll close down because some person got greedy. Yep. And then there's no ethics involved with something that was supposed to start to help people.
Yes.
They're exploiting people and their insurance, and it's just a fucking dirty game. So
yes, sir.
I'm seeing this very I don't know. I'm just seeing the same fucking thing, and I really want a change.
Yeah.
For the better, and I've been sitting back with. I'm in this position right now to just sit on and just do nothing, and just watch it all happen. And I'm just finding new ideas from like, every 3 months or every 2 weeks or 6 months. And everything's kind of flowing together where I know each person needs to transform their trauma. I know that with not a doubt in my mind, that's what it is. And even the therapists who are showing up need to do the work, man. And they're not, and it's like.
Some do.
Right.
Some do.
But I've seen some of these therapists, they show up with the like just super unhealthy. That I look at them like, man, like how can I give a firefighter to you with his insurance and have him listen to you, and you're not embodying some of this stuff, man.
Right.
Like you look terrible.
Yeah.
You look like your hormones are out of whack. You look stressed out, and you stink of whiskey.
Right. Totally, bro. Gosh, man. Yes to all of that. I've been on both sides of it, man. Like this is why I feel like I'm uniquely qualified, and I got goosebumps, man, when you're talking, because I've been on both sides of it. I've been through the work comp process. I've been in treatment. I've helped start a treatment center. I've worked in treatment. It's something needs to be done that's never been done before. It's not working. It's not working. And there's some really rotten people that are making a ton of money.
Oh yeah.
And it makes me sick to my stomach to have to turn away somebody because of insurance or whatever. And that's if at the core of what the nonprofit is to have these people reach out and to be able to bring them in and just, we got you. We got you. We're going to take care of you, man. Don't worry about work comp. Don't worry about your insurance. A lot of these people have lost their jobs because of whatever reason, some dissociative behavior that got them in trouble or whatever. And we're just throwing them away, just throwing these people away. And you hit the nail on the head, dude. We got to transform their trauma, and we got to do it in a way that's never been done before. We're not just going to take them in to some house in Malibu, you know what I mean? And have a chef feed them, have a couple groups where they do some stuff and we give them handouts. And then every 15 days, it's the same cycle and the same information. We tell them they got to stay here 90 days. And then we say, okay, you have a therapist. Okay. See ya. Oh, you relapsed. Oh, come back for 90 more days. It's just not working, man.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It's not working. And I'm not saying they're all like that, but this is why I'm like, God is just helping me along the way, because it's really people, man. It's people like you. It's people like Dr. Gallivan who are just, it's like Gabe, all my people are just people that think outside the box. Those are the people I want. I want the people that think outside the box, that are doing their own work, that can come together and create a space that's all done with love money. Don't worry about insurance. Don't worry about work comp. And my prayer is that we actually get results and we do it for a lot less. And then we go back to the system, right? Work comp, insurance, and go, look, we're taking all your people and we're paying for this, whatever it is, right? This thing we create. I know some of it. And we're getting people well, and we're doing it for way less money. There's no lawyers involved. We're treating these people as human beings. We're each one of them is individualized. We don't just have a program that we're shoving them into. Okay, this is the program you're in because this is the program we run. No, it's like this individualized thing, and we do blood work on them, and we do all this stuff that works, that you and I love so much. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to get results, and we're going to build community. We're going to build a community, and then we're going to send these wounded healers out back into their careers, and we're going to change a lot, man. I just feel it. I know it in my heart, it's just, I'm drawn to it. I was a firefighter medic for 22 years. I struggled with all this stuff the whole time, man. Marriage, all this stuff, just trauma, whatever, right? I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with my new 2-year-old and my wife. I could barely pay my health insurance. And I can go out and get a 6-figure salary job, dude, tomorrow. There's a lot of things that I can go do. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. And I'm so lucky. Like the people I have in my life, including my wife. And there was a time I almost quit of being in this space. And I just had some really good people. Like Dr. Gallivan said, no, you cannot leave this space. You are needed here, you know? And there's a part of me that's so driven to, and I don't know what it looks like. And some days it's just about me doing my daily practice and doing nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean just being the observer.
Yeah.
And the answers do come, man. And I know that we are building something great. It's already there. It's just about remembering and putting it all together, you know? Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude. You know, you're speaking the right things, and I think you have revolutionized a lot already. You know, just by you being open and vulnerable about your story, and you know, I think you're past that point of like done with the trauma, man. Done with the stories. Yeah. Like it's the past. Like I'm moving forward, and like now I'm stepping into this space to like really assist humanity in these hurting men and women. You know, that's what I want. I've always known that about you, man.
Yeah, thank you,
know,
brother.
And I just it reverberates back to me. And every time I talk to you, I run into you, and like you say things that always stick to me. Like that first episode, you had mentioned one of your friends talked to you, and you said PTSD is a lot of unprocessed grief. That was something I always remembered. You know, I'd never forget that, man, when you said that to me. And then we were talking at the conference, you know, and like we were just like chit-chatting or whatever, and you were like we were just like speaking the same language, right? And you're like, you know, we speak the same language. It's the language of the heart.
That's right.
You know, and that led me to actually move into the work I'm going into, is actually understanding the language of the heart and actually analyzing it on a deeper level to where it can be ingested by others. Because ultimately we can do all this EMDR stuff, all this logical analytical stuff with our traumas, with our memories, with this and that. But in the end, the let's say the cheat codes is actually going to the heart.
Right.
Because you can rewire the brain with all this stuff, but it takes forever.
Right.
If you go straight to the heart, it actually is, it's like getting a Game Shark and just sticking it into your N64 and then like putting the game in there.
Getting unlimited lives.
Yeah, dude.
Totally, bro. Do you know your heart sends more signals to your brain than your brain sends to your heart?
Yeah. Yeah, there's studies done back in like, I think it's 1991 or so. These scientists started to study the consciousness of the heart. And what they had found is that there are separate neurons. They're not neurons, they're called neurites that are there's 40,000 of them that are isolated to the heart itself. And they think independently from the mind. So you got two separate things that are going on here, but ultimately that's the database, that's the hub of your communication is activated, your intuition, your compassion, So this is what happens. And I've noticed this after I've been studying this is when I'm helping members do work with their own trauma stuff, is that we can't get to the heart. So what's happened is through our line of work, we put walls up to protect our hearts.
Right.
So we can't get in there. So we have to find out how to break those walls down.
Right.
And it's really challenging, especially for men, because in our culture, it's seen as weak. And it's not. It's actually the leveling up to yourself, your superhuman nature.
Right.
So I just noticed I'm kind of stuck on how do we break those walls down?
Okay.
You know, because that seems to be the hurdle we have to get to in order for that transformation to come through. You know, we put walls up unconsciously,
right?
You know, because of the lack of empathy. We can't have too much empathy going into our line of work because we have to be engaged into an analytical process that's just a straight line. You know what I mean? I got to do X, Y, and Z. I got to give these drugs. I got to put this fire out. I got to do this operation. It's all that other stuff, that human nature, the humanness in ourselves and our hearts have to get put on the into the back seat, while we have to do this work.
Yeah. Yeah. This is how we do it. We create sacred space, and we give them experiential.
So can you explain a sacred space? Because I think you've mentioned it before, but I don't think people understand what that is.
So it's a place that, in my experience, it's a place where you go. It could be anywhere, really, but it has intention, and it's bubble wrapped in love. And it's where healing can happen. That's the way I look at it, right? So you build, and it could be a physical place, it could be, I can have a sacred space in my own mind of where I go when I want to get centered, and I think of my happy place, right? The island of Kauai that's my sacred space. That's my happy place. Like if I want to just thinking about it right now, being in the water with my daughter, looking at those mountains, watching the waterfalls come out. But yeah, it's just a space that we build to heal and so we put that together, and then we create experiential different ways, for lack of a better term, for this population to get vulnerable. To get vulnerable. And then we take somebody from that culture that's been through it and has gotten on the other side of it, and we use them in whatever way to be the example for the rest of the group, to give them permission to be vulnerable. And then the walls start coming down, and then the connection starts happening, and then the tears start flowing. And then, but it's just not just one day, right? It's like we do a bunch of different things over a period of time. And before you know it, nonlinear acceleration, which has happened to me, right? I had all these walls going up. Oh, now, like, I'll give you an example. Like, before I had my transformation, anytime I had a pediatric death, dude, I unloaded the patient, got my stuff, I'm gone. Cleaning the stuff, and I'm out of there. And one of the last SIDS deaths I had, I actually sat with the dad because the social worker was not there yet, and I didn't want to leave him. They called the baby, and he started crying, the dad, and I just felt this overwhelming compassion to stay there, put my arm around him, and cry with him. It was sad, man. And that was just it was so amazing. It was so healing for me. Like I almost felt like I walked away from that not feeling like I used to.
Nice.
For whatever reason, you know what I mean? And that was just from everything I learned. Like now, my intuition was to do that, not to run away, but to sit in it with this man and to just hold space for him. And it was awesome, man. It was awesome. And I know that's not comfortable for everybody to do, but we're all human, and that's sad.
Yeah, that takes guts, to do that with a patient, right?
Yeah.
Or a patient's father.
Yeah.
It's just our lack of compassion is stripped, and I know I'm guilty of it. My compassion meter, I go to work,
right,
stripped. I internally open my heart in a certain way. And I know I have to still keep my limits to that, and I think Ram Dass said it well, like, how do we open our hearts in the world of hell? you know, because ultimately we work in this underworld location, you know, especially in all these alleyways and like, you know, it's just, it's dirty and gross and it's just, it's crazy, man. And so that's the trick is, how do you keep your heart open and what the hell? It's wild.
Well, you just let those human parts of you be human when it's really uncomfortable. Like, and I didn't even think twice about it. I didn't care who was around. I didn't care. My partner was sitting there. Like, I didn't care, you know? And yeah, it's really hard, man. It's so hard. It's people don't realize, I think people realize like it's a hard job, but I don't think until you sit in that seat, man, you have no idea. Like the pressure we put on ourselves, the things that we have to see at any moment, all the stuff, dude. Trying to recall half asleep how to do something that could really hurt somebody if you mess it up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
After doing it for 15 years.
Yeah.
We really need to revamp these folks. We really got to teach them the stuff that we're talking about. We have to teach them early.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing right now, you know, I was just recapping like my last month of January, and it felt like a marathon. I always kept seeing these memes like, when's January going to end? It's like, what happened to that month, man?
Right.
But you know, it started off with the Palisades fire, and I had front row seats to that thing,
right?
You know, just being there. And I've been to, you know, I could say hundreds of brush fires in my life, and I would say the 2 times I felt like I was going to die was on a brush fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
And that was not really a brush fire.
No.
That was like, that was a massive amount of structure fires. You know what I mean? So,
dude, it was a 3-day hazmat call.
Yeah, that too. But being there, it was weird, man. And you know, I was helping like go evacuate people from their homes, and you know, I would see like just spot fires all over the place with no units there. Like, there's no engines here, and that's going to take out these homes right here. I remember watching it. Like, I saw a gulch,
right,
and there was a fire at the middle of the gulch. And I was like, dude, these houses they're gonna get burned.
Right.
No one's here. And I just remember seeing that, just thinking like, this is crazy, man. You know, I think for me, I didn't really find it to be traumatic to be there. You know, I found it to be quite an experience and an honor to do that.
Sure.
You know, but what really got me was the overworking us afterwards. You know, because I ended up having to work a mandatory day. I think it was like 3 days after, man. And I was like burnt out, you know. That's the shift that I worked. That's what got me to where I really was bogged down and mentally, emotionally, to where I came home like feeling just fried, you know, like I tripped a breaker and like it just done, you know.
That makes sense.
And I think even more so now they slapped an inspection for us like this last week. And
they're doing a station inspection on you guys after all that stuff?
Yes.
That's awesome.
So all of us were like, dude, you got to be kidding us. All of us, our station, our whole shift on this A platoon, we were there at the fire. And then you say we have to do an inspection on, I was like 2 weeks after, you know? I think that was really hard for everyone to swallow. Like, you guys really care about your members to make us clean the station and do all this stuff. I think that was what really got me personally.
And in that way, you got to emphasize that just for the people that listen to this that aren't first responders. Like, we clean the station every day. Yeah. But this is all new level. This is us like cleaning shit that most people don't clean.
Polishing
just
the brass.
It's exactly.
Cleaning the under the engine in the truck. Just doing it, dude. And then it rained, you know, on top of it. So everything we cleaned was just like goes to ruin.
Right. And everybody's stressing out. Yeah, that's not cool, man. That's the stuff I'm talking about, you know? Yeah. It's just little things like that. Like, dude, I got a whole list of them, man. But like,
yeah, I think for me, it was like accepting. I can't change it, right? I have to accept it. Yeah. You know, my teacher talks to me about, you know, like she asked me like, what are the things you can't accept, you know, and write them down.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Especially with work. And, you know, that really brought me to another level with myself, you know, because acceptance is, we really don't know exactly the level of what acceptance means. and we really don't understand it because acceptance is transformation. You're alchemizing something
Right.
when you accept something. Because you give this, you're opening up your heart in a way, and you're giving yourself the capacity to not carry it anymore.
Right.
Just accept it. I'm leaving it where it's at. Period. I'm done with this here.
Yeah.
And then what you want to do is, when you open those gates, now you can bring in new information, new emotions that can replace what you accept. You know? So I accept I'm feeling this way. Now I can bring in a new emotion or a new feeling of joy, happiness, compassion, love, whatever it is, man. That's true alchemization of something.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I'm learning right now is like the work I'm doing. This woman, I've talked about it little bits and pieces. So I started working with this woman, and she teaches me. It's essentially a path to enlightenment. It's a man who had been enlightened. He's a qigong master. And he teaches a method of how to open your heart. So all this work is about heart opening. It's about understanding universal law, natural order. And what you're doing is that you're transcending the past into a new form of who you are. It's like you're shedding. All right, I'm standing a new version of myself for a little bit. And then you're shedding. And it's all thought. And it's all a perception. And you change your experience with the power of who you truly are, the true self. And so I think that's been really transformative for me. I think some things have fallen into my lap since I started this work. My relationship is leveled up with Haley. And I think what really got me was I changed a perspective based off a conversation we had doing some work. And it was how the universe responds to you. And the universe is neutral. Whatever you put out there, the universe is like, okay, I'm going to support that. So what I was working with is I was making things difficult for myself. And so I was just driving and I was like, dude, the universe is just responding to what I'm doing. If I believe it's difficult, the universe is like, all right, it's difficult.
Right.
If I believe it's easy, the universe is like, all right, it's easy.
Right.
And it's just supporting whatever I'm putting into the quantum field.
Yep.
It's just computing, beep, boop, 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 and it's just like, okay, this is what you get.
Totally. Oh, that's awesome, bro. Yeah. Acceptance is the answer to all my problems. I read one time 100 times, 1,000 times in a book that I use often. So true, man. It's so hard.
Can be.
Isn't it hard sometimes?
Yeah.
But it's beautiful when we do, though. Sometimes for me, it's like sometimes I don't even know. I don't even have the awareness of what I'm not accepting.
Yeah.
It's just when there's a collision, bro. Boom. Okay, what's that? Oh, you're not accepting the fact that Okay. Oh man.
Yeah, I used to learn from collision.
That's
that was the way I set myself up to learn. That comes with a lot of supporting factors unconsciously that I didn't know I carried. It was just, I think a lot of it was the guilt, sin, the way I was raised, and the shame culture, and a lot of it was, I think, the conditional love that I didn't understand was conditional in the first place. I think that's what really cut deep.
Yeah.
I think people don't understand how much we can be raised with conditional love. It's like, hey, I love you if you do this for me.
Right.
And we do it ourselves to other people, instead of being a witness of an unconditional love space. That you can do anything and I'll still love you no matter what.
Right.
That's how hard is it, just even saying that. I was like, that's hard to do, man.
Dude, it's hard to accept as well.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that? I just had I had a moment with a really close person in my life where I didn't share some information with them because I was afraid. And I eventually did. And when I did, the conversation was awesome. It was like, I love you no matter what, but I really feel it now, but before that I didn't, especially when it comes to shame. Shame is a bitch, man.
It really is.
It just disgust, huh?
Yeah.
It ruins so much. Yeah, but I was never taught how to unconditionally love, or how to be unconditionally loved. You know, because of those parts of me that I hate. It starts here. I gotta unconditionally love myself, which is I've learned, right? I learned early on, right? There was a bad Matty and a good Matty. And Brenda told me there's just Matty. You gotta love all those parts of you, right? And then you just cultivate the parts that you that you feel are putting good into the world, and you're showing up your best self and honoring your true self, right? The divine is here. I feel like, I don't know if it's so much up here. You probably know more about that, but when we can tap into this, we tap into the divine, like the language of the heart, God. It's all in here, in this space. Yeah. So why wouldn't we want to open it up and share it with people?
It's hard, dude. It's I think it's there's a trick to it, you know, and I think the trick to it is, like I had said earlier, it's ownership. You know, once you do that ownership, it starts opening things up.
Yeah.
You know, and there's this I believe it's called like the Native American like cross, and they speak on from the east, the sun rises. That's where ownership begins, and in the end, like there's a whole circle to it. In the middle, the Native Americans had referred to this term called a Shante Ishta, and that term is the eye of the heart, and that's the center of it all. You know, despite your circumstances, your thoughts, whatever it is, everything just goes away once you stay there. You know, but there is a way to mend the mind-heart connection. It's just like wherever the heart goes, the mind will follow, you know, and the mind's pretty interesting because it plays tricks on us in a fascinating, funny way. If you see it that way,
right?
You're like, man, why is my mind doing this to me right now? Like, what is it really trying to show me?
Right.
Because a lot of times it's just like a little sinister bastard.
Yeah, a little
it's just
trickster.
Like, you're like walking around a corner and puts a stick right there. You fall down and it's like laughing at you. It's like, that's mostly what our mind is, you know?
Right.
But if you start to understand what it's doing, like, oh, I see you. I see you're just tricking me a little bit. And then once you find out it's tricking you in a humorous way for you to see the truth,
right?
Then it starts to like kind of have a fit. And then after the fit, it just shows you the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you ask for it.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that's so good, bro. That's so good.
Yeah, I have this weird, you know, through my practice, you know, I am meditation's like one of my anchors.
Yeah.
You know, so after a period of time, I would meditate. I would get letters that would come up as words. It would just flash, yes or no. It started with that, and anything I do in life, and like I'd go open the door to get some food, you know, and then I'd be like, no, flashing no. Like, that's weird, you know, and I would eat and then I would feel terrible, you know, and then, so I would start having that experience, and then I started listening to it, and it started changing from that to like different words, you know, as I would just like continue with that practice, because I would start growing that muscle of my intuition per se, and it came more of like a metaphysical manifestation of my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it was really interesting. And I would play with it at first when I didn't listen to it. And my teacher was like, dude, you got to listen to that.
Right.
Intuition it's just showing up for you. Doesn't matter, you know, how it's showing up. It's just showing up for you in that way. So you should listen to what it's telling you.
Yeah. When I had a really good meditation practice, like when I was doing Vipassana twice a day for an hour, I'm not joking you, bro. I would know things were going to happen before they happen.
Yeah.
I was that, like, everything was 10D. When I come back from those retreats, bro, I'd be like, I could see the words coming out of people's mouths.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I would know what people were going to say before they said it. I was so present. It was awesome. It's a lot of work.
In like ancient, like East Hindu practices, they would call it siddhis. They're these superpowers that they would, as they start leveling up with themselves, each person has different superpowers essentially, and they honor them, and they warn you that with kind of like that Spider-Man, like
Yeah,
with
yeah.
great power comes great responsibility. Same with these cities. It is true. Like you have to be careful with the cities because don't get caught in a complex with it, and it can lead you to the opposite side of your path.
Right.
You should just witness them just as you witness your thoughts. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't go around trying to. It's good stuff. I had a thought, and it escaped me. This is so good, though. This is good stuff, bro. I'm gonna go back and listen to this. I don't often do that, but yeah, we have good conversations, bro. Yeah. I feel the same way. Like when actually at that particular conference this year, I was having a hard time. I was in a weird funk. And every time I saw you, it was like, you know what I mean? And we just kind of start talking, and it just like, it was like home base a little bit. So I appreciate that, buddy.
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah.
I actually had a hard time the first time I was there. I was having a lot of back pain, and that's when I hurt my back, and I didn't know I was injured. I was just like, man, I'm just like in pain. Like I was like at a 7, 8 out of 10, like constantly.
Yeah.
Never went away, you know? And I think it was like a week after when I actually like was at work and I froze up in bed, and like I was like, I really injured myself, you know? So I do remember that headspace I was in prior, and I was just like really struggling, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. And that sucks too. Back pains, lower back, right? Mm-hmm. Did you have surgery?
No, I had stem cell injections put in.
I've never been the same because they cut that part of me out, you know?
Yeah, that's what I didn't want that.
That you're smart.
Once you cut, you can't uncut, you know?
And I know this might sound weird, but I can feel that stability that I used to have. It's missing. Like I can actually pinpoint in my body where that stability is missing.
I know where when you speak on that, because I had another surgery, and I'm so aware, I'm hyper aware. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I just know there's something wrong, but I can't really tell, you know, but the work we did today is the fascia. Once you open the fascia up, because then when they cut into the fascia, it actually disturbs the connection it has. And so when you open it up, it like allows more space for the fascia to heal itself. So I noticed a lot of people who have had fascial work done around the scars, they open around the scar tissue and stuff, because the scar tissue essentially, it just ruins. And doctors these days, dude, they don't think about, you know, what they're doing to the fascia of the body and the scar tissue that's left behind, you know, and they just cut and they leave you off, you know, to figure it out. Right. And you're just sitting with this for the rest of your life. Right. And I think that's a big problem, you know, with some of these doctors let's just cut into the body. Right. You know, it's medieval, dude.
Yeah. But they're getting paid a lot more for it these days.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I wish I would have known that stuff. But by the way, the work we did today was pretty awesome, bro. Like I can already feel like I'm melting into this chair a little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like I walked in pretty wound up from just trying to get here and the meeting I had this morning and things I need to do. And I don't feel that way right now, man.
Good.
I feel like really present in the space. Now that I think about it, like nothing hurts.
Nice.
That's not usually the case. There's always something that's going, hey,
that's so
you
annoying.
suck.
Yeah, so before Matty came, we did some Human Garage work, you know, and Human Garage really fell into my lap at a perfect time in my life. It always happens that way. I know when like when my own transformation is ready for something new, it just falls right in my lap. You know, and I just remember seeing them online on Instagram, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy with the white hair, you know? And then I went to one of their events, me and Haley, and like we loved it. We loved it, dude. And we started practicing on each other, and that elevated to me working with another guy who does work on people. And then from there, I went to like another event that they had to help to train you to work on other people. And then I had their team work on my body, and man, it leveled me up. And now I work on people And dude, it's crazy. Like I know what I'm doing, you know, and I worked on a Helios. She was like my guinea pig for a long time. So like a lot of my work was practicing on her, but man, now like I just know. Yeah. I just know what's going on with that person, you know?
Yeah, bro.
And it's
awesome.
really, really amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm sold.
I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way.
Of course, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, I'm happy for you, man.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Yeah, we're gonna help a lot of people, bro. I'm collecting my little souls. You know?
Army.
My little army of healers.
Yeah, I think it takes an army, man. It really takes the community, number one. Yeah. And that's what they teach in Human Garage too, is that we heal through community. Yeah. We heal through connection, we heal through community.
So true.
And it's all about that because we cannot do it alone.
Right.
As much as we want to do healing by ourselves, we can't, man.
No, it has to be done communally, bro.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
I just had a woman recently. I've been working with this other woman who's been, she's been helping me with some stuff with my physical body. I just, man, again, fell into my lap. You know, I just had some structural stuff that some of the fascia is really hard to get to, like some tendon stuff, like my shoulder. She completely reset my shoulder, dude, put it back in place. And, you know, I went to her office one day and she was like, hey, you know what? She's like, I think you need to just like ask God for help. I don't know why. I just needed to tell you that. I was like, she's like, you can't do it alone. And that's the first thing she said to me when I went to her office. Right. I was like, okay, I guess that's what I need. You know, she's this little old lady, dude, like in her 70s and just super talented, man. She does like energy work on you. Like I just saw her one time. She was just like holding her hands on my leg. I was like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just doing my thing. And she does like energy work on you. Like I didn't even know that's what she does. She just knows exactly what your body needs and listens to what, you know, your body needs, you know, but she's really talented, like tremendously.
Yeah.
I'm glad I found her.
Yeah. Dude, hook me up. Yeah. I really, this is a good day for me because I need to start taking care of my body a little bit better. I just kind of let things go. It's been kind of bugging me. You know, I was always like in the gym my whole life, you know, but after like the disc got crushed and I was just in pain. I couldn't lift weights because the side wouldn't work. But ever since I had the surgery, like I haven't really, I love hiking and stuff. It just takes time to go out for 2 hours. But I got a gym membership last year. I went 2 times, dude. I'm just like, I'm over it. Like I don't want to do that anymore, you know? So I feel like I need to find something. I really like hiking in nature. I like being in nature with him, with Axel, and just like I don't need to be like doing squats and all that stuff anymore. I just want to be healthy.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
And I'm carrying a little bit more weight than I normally do. So yeah, it's another thing I'd like to get my body back in balance. So,
oh, dude, last year was a big hurdle for me, you know, because I'm really active and just being injured with my back, I was just laying on my back like a turtle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know, it's so bad.
And I just really, you know, I went into this path of, you know, working on mental health and all that stuff. And I was sitting on my own shit, dude. And it was really hard for me, man.
Yeah.
I think it was an important place to be in, a space to sit within myself. And I think I had a lot, like a pity party for myself when I was like that. And I at some point I was like, no, you know what, man, I'm going to take ownership of the pity party I put myself, but no one else is invited to this pity party except for me.
Right.
And so I dedicated myself to just meditate every day. I was like, if I can't move my body because of this injury, I want to do something else. And so I journaled hardcore, dude. Like I did like 2 books.
Really?
Journaling every day. And then I did subtle movements. I started really diving into Qigong. And then I meditated like every day. It was like I was absolute, like non-negotiable, had to do it every single day. And, you know, I really really felt there was a change within myself after that time period, you know, and it was a good time to be like isolated in that space because I was just home alone most of the time, you know, and I think I really got to just witness within myself the blockages, the debris that needed to be cleared out, you know.
Yeah, that's, gosh, what a powerful tool. Putting pen to paper is so cathartic, and it's, man, like the stuff that comes out. When I run my groups with my people, I love doing some kind of writing exercise because what comes out is really, it's pretty awesome, you know. And there's some tricks you can do to trick them into.
Yeah.
I'll tell you off when we're off camera so no one steals my tricks. But yeah, there's something healing to that. And that's cool that you did that, you know. Most guys will sit there and, you know, pop Vicodin, drink beer, and watch Netflix the whole time. You know? You're meditating and journaling, going inward. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, at the end of that, you know, it got to the point where I was like, dude, these practices were really great. Tremendous. You know, I need them from time to time. But I started to honor my human nature. Like, dude, it's okay if I want to sit and watch some Netflix right now, you know, and do things to just chill out, you know. So there was a balance that I learned as the discipline is great. It suffices for some certain things and circumstances. But I just wanted to be like I wanted to just thank my raw human nature of who I am because people avoid that. Right. You know, especially in the spiritual community, people avoid being angry, you know, or these certain like, to feel emotions like that, you know, it's ashamed, you know? Right. And, you know, I really sat with that human nature part of everything and I think that's what brought me into connecting more to myself. You know, my primal nature. Right. And even brought like things up when I started doing that, you know, like my raw primal, like male sexual energy, you know, I started to honor that instead of being shamed with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And talking to one of my teachers about it, he was like, dude, yeah, you've been shaming yourself for having those raw human experiences. And so now that now that you have let that part go, it's going to come up. Right. For you to look at it and see like, oh, this is probably a little bit immature, but I could transform it now. Right. You know, by just witnessing it.
Totally. That's rad. I love that, bro. What is one of your little guilty pleasures that might not be that good for you that you like doing?
Video games.
Yeah. Yeah. Really? Yeah. Like, what do you play? COD?
No, I'll play like FIFA.
Okay.
And I was playing Zelda for a little bit, you know, and then we turned it into like a family thing where we play Mario Party together, and so it's been pretty fun. Oh yeah, cool. Mario Kart. And there's a balance with it, you know what I mean? I know like if I'm gonna disassociate with video games, I know what I'm doing. I'm conscious of it. You know, that's a difference.
Totally.
Is that I'm aware
the awareness
of what's happening. You know?
I'm just gonna do this for a little while and. Yeah, I spent a lot of time playing video games. And it was to play with my kids originally. It was to play with my boys when they're young. Like, I had no idea you can wear a headset. And when I learned that, dude, I was like, whoa. And they lived in a different state for a little while. So I got them all a TV and all an Xbox. And we just like, we're like killing bad guys. But then it just, when I was injured.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Now?
Yeah.
Podcasts, political podcasts. so bad.
Nice.
It doesn't get me anywhere, dude.
Which political podcasts?
Like Tucker or or like
that's funny.
Sean Ryan.
Oh, dude, Sean Ryan's great, man.
Yeah.
I really like some of the stuff he's had on there. And he's been a big proponent for Ibogaine.
Yes.
Dude. And he told this is the first time I had shared it on when I had Corey on, who did a podcast on Iboga. Have you listened to that episode by any chance?
No.
Oh yeah.
What number is it?
43.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a Navy SEAL, retired 10 years, and serves Iboga. And he talked about it. And then right before he came on, I had heard Sean Ryan talking about his friend who was in 2 tours in Iraq. He got shot in the head and blown up on a Humvee or something like that, and then was just done. He was just sick, dude. Traumatic brain injury. Went to go do Ibogaine and like left his cane at the retreat. Completely transformed his brain injury. Right. I was like, whoa, you know. And then I started hearing more and more about, but it all happened on purpose because Corey was coming on to talk about Iboga. You know, really powerful. But he's had a couple other guests and stuff. I mean, he's a Navy SEAL, right?
Yeah, Navy SEAL. He's one of my favorite people, and then Rogan, of course.
Yeah.
So podcasts, but yeah, I don't know. That's probably the worst thing I do these days. Which couldn't I say that 20 years ago? Be a lot different, bro. But yeah, I try to stay engaged with the family and what I'm doing, and my daily practice is important. So yeah, bro, good stuff.
Oh, dude, I was going to mention, like, I was talking about raw human nature, and there was a story that was going to come up. And just the other night, dude, I was at work, and like, there are other units. We have a common dorm at this station. I don't know if you've ever dealt with that.
Oh yeah, bro.
Oh my God, dude. Common dorms are the fucking worst.
Yeah. Every time the tones go off, you wake up.
Okay, so the tones went off for our 800 ambulance. It's a BLS ambulance, right? And they forgot to hit the lights, and they missed 2 calls. So like 3 calls they missed back to back. Lights turn on, everyone's waking up.
Right.
And I was just boiling in my anger. You know?
Yeah, totally.
So I was like feeling this, and I was like, man, I feel shame for feeling this anger. And I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to sit in this anger, just be in it, and just feel it, what it feels like. And I was like, this is super powerful, man.
Right.
Just be in this rage.
That's pretty awesome. Did you go take it out on the ambulance kids? Did you keep it to yourself?
No, I just went back to sleep, but
yeah,
after I accepted my raw human nature, then I just went to sleep.
Yep. It was like,
yeah.
The air got sucked out of the room. Yeah, dude, I remember those. Every time the tones go off, they tried to separate it, but it still didn't. You'd still hear it way on the other side of the dorm. Some of the newer stations, but
yeah, man.
Dude, I am very grateful, my friend, that I don't have to run any calls anymore.
I bet, dude.
Dude, it's awesome, bro.
I bet.
Oh, and then I actually like sleep well. I have vivid dreams like the one I was telling you about, like where I can remember just every detail, and then I can talk to my friends about it and have them like pick it apart for me. And dude, that's just, oh God.
Yeah, I don't have as many vivid dreams, man. It just,
you're never in REM sleep. You're never
right.
It's just not good, man.
I have a friend at work who he has sleep paralysis.
Screams.
Yeah, but I sent him to this guy who teaches about sleep paralysis and what to do. And because your initial reaction is to have fear when you have that experience. You don't know what's going on. So he actually teaches you what to do. And then fear is the worst thing. I mean, fear in any circumstance is never the answer.
Right.
So that's a life lesson that I had to learn hard myself, you know, because when you start engaging in fear, you can feed it more and more, and it gets worse.
Right.
So he started teaching him about it. And then now he can actually, like, he'll start seeing, like, you know, like...
Seeing it coming at him?
No, he'll start seeing, like, having, like, these newer gifts started emerging from this sleep paralysis experience to where he can, like... Yeah. He'll start seeing, like, you know, angel beings and, like... Start now, you know, being able to control the dream, like a dream within a dream, like Inception.
Yeah. Dude, that's pretty cool. Because I was experiencing that for a while.
Oh, interesting.
And but I thought it was some darkness. Like it was just some darkness that I needed to have, you know.
Or it was the light knocking on your door.
Or that. Now that I, you know.
I'll send you a podcast.
It could have been, now that I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But have you ever had that? Where you feel like people are holding you down?
Mm-mm.
And
Never had that.
You can't scream, and then you try to scream, and then you scream, and I scream in the dorm.
Yeah, I never had that, and
Never had that feeling,
I've heard of friends have had it though, and I don't know what that feels like. So but I sent them to someone who knew what to do. I'll send you a podcast episode about a guy who talks about it. He's like a master of that space.
Gosh, because I wish I would have known that back then. I'd have been like, yeah, it could have been something trying to get my attention, bro.
Yeah.
Something good.
Right.
But I went to the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to scream. Oh, that's rad. Awesome, bro.
Cool, brother.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll close off here. And
thank you.
Thanks for coming on. And I think one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here was, number one, I love talking with you and having conversations. So the other part was, I know you're on the precipice of launching this nonprofit. So I want people to be aware of this work you're doing.
Thank you.
And, just understanding this language we're having, the interaction we speak on, this language of the heart, right? It's palpable. I think when I think people hear two grown men talking about what's most important, then it helps people change their perspective. Like tattoos, I know. Firefighters.
I know.
Right? Open up our hearts, man. But
it's so good.
I think it's just, for me, it's just a lot of trial and error, man. I think the more error I've had have led me into this path, and just not wanting to be suffering anymore and helping other people who do suffer,
That's it. That's it right there, brother. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's the First Responder Peace and Refuge Foundation. FRPR is the tag on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. www.frprfoundation.com is the website, and we're still working on it. But yeah, if any of your listeners have any ideas, or I'm open to conversations about where they fit in. I want this to be a home for people. I really do. Want it to be a big community of us that speak this language of the heart, my friend. Yeah. So thank you.
For sure.
Yeah,
Matty. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Stay warm and dry out there over in Southern California. It's been raining, but I love you guys.
It's time for Crab Lives.